what time is it?
Hello, friends. We are back with another
Yes,
episode.
we're back, and we found out a new way to do our timer.
Yeah, I mean we're figuring it out. I know you guys might like to see some of the bloopers, like we're trying to figure out how do we turn off our camera when we're done. So
You know all those things.
we're figuring it out. So, anyways, we're back, and last week we kind of talked about how important it is we have the Book of Kristen or the Book of Jenny, or taking the time to have a book where we write down our experiences that we have with the Lord for our strength, to help us get through challenges that we're going through now or that we will in the future, because we know we will. We've talked a little bit about how important it is, how nice it would be if we had family members that would write things down, because we're going to go back and compare and say, wow, if they made it through that challenging time, I can make it through this. We also talked about how writing things down blesses other people, like it's the whole ripple effect. We share our experiences verbally, or we write them down in gratitude to the Lord when we share, and it inevitably blesses other people. Whether we see that or not, it does.
Yeah, I have a story I want to share. My grandma was Alice, and her mother was Ann Eliza. So my daughter is Eliza Ann, and she. So my grandma was born in 1910. So her mother was probably born in like 1890, or probably 1880, something like that. She lived in Idaho. They didn't have power or flushing toilets or running water. Her husband was a trapper.
Wow.
They camped for most of their life, right? She had 10 children in her cabin, and they all lived, which is just so amazing. She had 2 sets of twins. And so I remember her as a child. When I was 5, I think I met her, and then she was gone not very long after that. But I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, I got a journal from her that I found, and she called it The Uneventful Life of Ann Eliza Hess Farnsworth. And I read that, and it was like 45 pages long. I think my grandma Alice helped her put it together, and she just told stories from her life. And when I was done, and I still feel it right now, when I was done, I just ugly cried for like an hour. It was so impactful for me. I don't even know why. I mean, she shared her hard things. She'd had a few children of hers die before she did. She had one of her kids got swept away in the river, and she got him back, and just, the hungry times, the sick times. It was just really brief. It was not long, but it wiped me out. It just was so meaningful to me. And so when I see names in family history that have no stories, I don't know anything about them, I know because of her that they had such a meaningful thing. And she thought that hers was the uneventful life. And, there weren't big deals, but it was so meaningful to me.
Yeah. I mean, I've been kind of going through our family history. I don't think I've really cared about family history very much, until this last year. And I started looking up, okay, I know my mother's side of the family came from South Africa, right? Where you did your mission.
That's right.
And my dad came from Denmark. And so I thought, well, what brought them to America? I want to know a little bit. And I'm going to tell you a story on my dad's side. It's really short and really sweet, but it made a big impact on me. So my in-laws, or my dad's family, was in Denmark. They lived in, and of course the journaling and all the stories talk about what specific town they lived in. They lived on the outskirts of a fishing town, of a right off the ocean, and they would do a lot of shipping from that town. And she was heading into town one day, walking on the dirt road, going in to do grocery shopping or whatever she was doing, and she had a personage appear to her, all dressed in white. And this personage said, "Do you want to know the true church?" And as a true Oleson would, she said, "No, I don't need to know that." And the personage said, "Are you ready to take responsibility for that choice?" And she's thought for a minute. And I often wonder what she thought. I often wonder if maybe I was there in heaven saying,
Come on,
do
Grandma.
it. This is going to affect us. But she said, okay, I do want to know. And that white person that's dressed in white took her to the LDS chapel, and she didn't right away become a member of the church, but she was converted, and then she brought it home to her family. And as all true Olsons do, Olsons, we're not interested. But several years later, they ended up joining the church and deciding they wanted to come to Zion. They wanted to be with other members. And they crossed the oceans. They came across the plains. They ended up settling in Brigham and Logan. And that's their side of the story. But the story about how she converted to the LDS church was just incredible to me. Like, it really made an impact, because had she not made that choice, where would I be? That influenced my life in a very direct way, even though it was 150 years ago. And my mom's got her stories of coming over. You know, my mom's families. I keep saying in-laws, but so long ago, my mom's families in South Africa, they were very, very wealthy, and one of the daughters ended up giving all of her wealth up because her parents were like, "Don't do it. That's just the most stupid thing." But she gave it all up and came to America and joined the church. And so from both sides, and she came over in the Willie Handcart.
Wow.
So she's got a lot of stories. These stories matter. I mean, I do a ghost story tour. I know you guys know this already, but people come and listen to stories of what people have literally experienced. It's just fantastic.
Well, and if you think about Jesus's teaching styles was teaching by stories and parables.
Yeah.
I mean, because he knew how much it affects us, because they're so relative to us. You know, we know exactly how that feels when the lady loses her coin and she's like, "Dang it, where is it?" You know, has to clean the whole house to find it. I mean, that's just so real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or when the son comes back, you know, that's just a tearjerker, the prodigal son. There's just stories are so meaningful, and you have them.
Well, and I just wrote something on the bighopeletters.com. It's the story about the woman who touched Jesus's hem, and the little preface. Yeah, every time we read these stories, we might see something a little bit different. And this time I read it and I saw, man, this woman, first of all, her intent, like, she was determined to find the Lord for this miracle, which I'd never seen that before. That little part of the story. And second, when he turned around to look at her, he called her daughter. He was very familiar with this woman. And it's the same with us. We read these stories, we learn something from them. The Spirit's able to touch our hearts on different aspects of these stories that benefit us right now.
Oh, that is such a good point, because, like, our own stories are going to hit our kids or our friends, in one way on one day, and another way in another day, when they need something different.
Yeah, they're impactful
but
all
you
the
really
time.
Can't leave very much to your family and to the world unless you write stuff down, because, if you leave them their house, the government takes capital gains. It's like, we can't leave things behind. Our stories are the things that we can leave behind.
Yeah.
And our examples.
And right now, I'm doing a little something for my daughter, and I'm starting way ahead because Christmas seems like it's right around the corner. But we're doing a little family history for her and digging up the offer line in Michigan. And so I called my ex-husband's cousin, who said, "Well, I don't know if your daughter's going to want to know that we were involved in the Purple Gang," which is, we were criminal, what he's trying to say. And I'm like, what person doesn't want to know this? We've all got our fingers in something, I mean, it's interesting to know what we're made of,
that reminds me of Hitch. Remember when Hitch dates that girl and finds out her, there could be mysteries. That's fun.
Yeah. So write them down. I mean, I know it's important to write down our miracles. That strengthens our faith. It keeps us going through the challenges. It gives us a little bit of a tougher skin, I think, too, when the next challenge comes, because we can look back and see we've made it through some of these challenges before. and the Lord has been with us. It's also important just to write family history. Write your not great stories down. You made it through these not great experiences, these not great times. And you may not see the Lord in that experience. I mean, he's there. But write the experience down because it does bless other people.
So great story from the scriptures. Remember when the three angels, the Lord and his angels, come to talk to Abraham? And he sits down, and for the last 50 years, the Lord's been telling him, you're going to have children like the sand of the sea and the stars in the sky. And Sarah's in the tent, and the Lord's like, you're going to have a baby this time next year. And she just laughs.
Yeah.
She's like, and the Lord's like,
old. How old was she?
She was like double menopausal.
Yeah.
She was like 80 years old.
I was going to say, was she 80?
And she was old. But, because that story is written down, it brings a lot of joy. And then they named their son Isaac because that means to laugh. Mm-hmm. And he brought joy, and she laughed at the Lord. But that's what and she succeeded in the end. She was blessed with what she always wanted.
Yeah.
And, but knowing that she doubted, knowing that she, blew him off. I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
Our kids need to know that we blow things off. Our kids need to know.
Yeah, I mean, we make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I know my dad's favorite swear word. I remember that. And I used it on my kids when I was younger. And we're not perfect, and we're not. If all we want to do is represent perfection, we've missed the boat.
Yeah, that's
because none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes, and guess what? Sometimes we learn from our mistakes. Sometimes other people learn from our mistakes, and that's okay too. That's another benefit in writing things down.
Yeah. So, how often do kids learn lessons from their parents, for better or for worse, you know? And these lessons and these stories, they are intergenerational. Like I was telling Jenny earlier, the scriptures are our heritage that we get from the past, and the stories that we write down are our legacy.
Yeah, exactly.
That we leave to the future. So we can, we just really have to realize that's what's real. That is what's real.
And now we're going to talk about just one more topic when it comes to writing things down. I don't know if you guys do this or not. We all receive revelation in different ways. The Lord speaks to us in different ways, right? For me, I will sit down with a notebook, with a piece of paper, and something will come to my mind, and I will write that thought down. And sometimes there's a lot of it that comes that I write down. This one particular time, I'm going to tell a quick story. I came outside. I was sitting in my swing chair. I had my notebook. I sat down, and the thought that came across my mind was, if you could have anything in the world, what would it be? And so I wrote that thought down, thinking, well, that's kind of a dumb thought, but I'm going to write down. And then I wrote my answer. Well, maybe 5 years ago, I would have said money, because money can buy everything. And then immediately 2 experiences I had 40 years ago came to my mind. And in both instances, I could have had all the money in the world. And yet I chose something better. It was such an amazing experience that I've never really experienced before. Just to have these stories come to my mind where the Lord was showing me something different than that idea of money. Sometimes when we sit down with a pencil and a paper and clear our mind and open it up to let the Lord talk to us intentionally, he will. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And what if she didn't? What if she didn't sit down on her swing chair with a paper and a pencil and have that question? I mean, she could have had that question, and if you don't write it down, things come in and out of our minds so quickly.
Yeah. There are people that say, hey, I receive my inspiration when I'm in the shower, and I do too. I receive it when I'm mowing the lawn, and sometimes I have dreams, and everybody receives that inspiration differently. But for me, man, if I don't write it down, it's gone. Like, it comes and goes so fast. Even my dreams, if I don't write them down, totally. I will lose immediately.
So, like when I'm writing in my journal, if the phrase comes to mind, it occurred to me. That's like, I know that the Spirit said something to me. And it occurred to me that if I would just do this, and it's just it's so funny because I call it occurred to me. that's the Spirit talking to me, because I after so many years of writing stuff down and thinking things through and trying to work out stuff, I can tell, like, when an idea comes from somewhere else that's not me, I'm like, stop right now, pay attention. That was not my idea, because that is not, and you can kind of tell when it's not your idea.
Yeah.
And that's a scary place, but it's an awesome place. So you write that down, and then you say what happened because of that.
Yep. It's amazing what the Lord can do when we dedicate a little bit of time to write things down. I know some people will spend the first thing in the morning, they'll get their journal out or their notebook or whatever it is, and they'll wait for instruction from the Lord.
So awesome.
They'll wait. Sometimes it's not even waiting for instruction. Sometimes I write in my journal, and I just write to the Lord what I'm grateful for. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for all these wonderful things. And I start listing all the things, and sometimes writing down is Him telling me, hey, I'm with you. I love you, daughter, but none of that would come quite the same way as far as being able to remember it if I didn't take the time to write it down. So take the time, set aside a little bit of time every day. Let the Lord instruct you however He does. If you don't know how it's going to come or what it's going to sound like, trust me, you'll figure it out. We're spiritual beings. He's our Father. He will communicate with us.
And especially repetitions and patterns, especially as you start having it occurs to me, or whatever you notice that gets your attention. The more you pay attention, the more you will see.
So our challenge today is take the time. Take the time to go buy a journal that is just for this.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so I wrote in my journal a long time, and now I use my Google Docs for my journal.
Yeah.
And what's so awesome is I press the microphone, I say all the stuff that I want to say, and I have to go back and correct it, but it's so much more natural and I love to write. I write all the time, but I don't forget details when I'm talking.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have, and you can and so, like, what I do is at the end of the year, I print what I had, and every year I make a new file for 2020, 2024, the other years, so that the file doesn't get super long and I don't lose it. I print it because I don't want to have it lost. But on the cloud, it's pretty nice. It's pretty and so easy and free.
Yeah.
So nice.
So that's a really great point. Some people really can't take the time to write down. But if you're out doing things and you do have these thoughts, I go to notes on my phone. When I have a dream and I need to record it first thing in the morning, if I don't have my glasses around, which I don't often, I can press the microphone button and I can tell my dream with the microphone and have it all be there. And some of the experiences that I have via dreams or whatever, and then you can transfer that however you want to transfer it. But I do
and then
lot
you can
in
just
notes.
cut it out and stick it in the Big Hope letters.
Yes.
So easy.
All right, you guys. Until next time, please go check out the Big Hope letters at what is it? The website?
The
BigHopeLetters.com. And then if you want to contribute to this, if you want to share an experience writing something down, please leave a message in the comments. Let's open up the chat and talk about it. We'd love to hear your experiences.
And you want to go online right now and read the Sherlock Holmes video game story. Great story.
Oh yeah, the gaming story. Oh my goodness.
So cute.
Such a great little story from a 10-year-old perspective.
Really awesome.
Well, from a 10-year-old. Have a great day, you guys. We'll see you next time.